Perfect. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order a regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Goshen Central School District being held on Monday, August 3rd, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. in Woodland. Please join me in the pledge.
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. And jumping right into the president's report, I'd just like to give everybody an update on where we stand with our superintendent search. So if you're just tuning in for the first time, please keep in mind that we have re-engaged the services of BOCES as it comes part to, us being part of that group, and we do not have to pay a separate consultant. They do all the same services as some of the paid consultants. We had our BOCES team in here last month. They gave us an update, a new timeline. This is a brand new search. Our first search did not conclude how we expected. So we're moving on with new timelines and new deliverables. The posting for the position is open. It's on 3 different platforms, and I don't know all the acronyms, so I won't say it. But I did have a chance to touch base with our team from BOCES today, and they told me that they've had around 5 or 6 people call in from out of state, from in-state, from different regions to just inquire and ask some questions, and they've received 4 applicants already. And we still have until August 14th. They expect to receive a handful more applicants, and that's where we stand. We'll keep giving monthly updates as things are moving along, and we'll probably bring our team back in here next month as well to give an update directly from them. And that's all I have for this evening. Do we have any additional board member committee reports that anybody would like to share?
No.
Right, very good. Great. So now we'll move on to our interim superintendent report. Turn it over to Mr. Tom Bonjovi.
Thank you, President Loftus. Good evening, everyone. So July, of course, is the very busy month for interviewing and hiring. So as a school district, really your strategy is you want to get as many of your people hired at the first meeting in July, and then as many more at that first meeting in August, because we're all competing for the same candidates between us and other school districts. So we do have a number of our people being appointed tonight. In just a little while, we'll have them introduce themselves to the board and the public. That's very exciting. So really that's what's taken up the principals at the building level, and then at our level, just a lot of interviewing. Last week, it was very nice. So you may have heard that Officer Brandon Rabb had retired from the village police after a stellar career. Officer Rapp was the SRO at the high school. So we were able to attend the walkout ceremony. Very nice. So if you can picture the village police station, and you have, 100 people, 50 on each side. You had a lot of people from the school district, specifically the high school. We were there. You have police officers from the village, from the town, from the state police, some dignitaries, students. So they had a bagpiper and a drummer there also. So Officer Rapp comes out in full dress uniform. He walks the line to Chief Rich. They do a salute. It was very touching. And then afterwards, he made a point to come around and see everybody. Mr. Quinlan was there to take video, so that'll be part of our upcoming videos also. So congratulations. We wish Officer Rabb the very best. And I told him, that he was one of our ski club advisors. I said, we might still need a ski club advisor, so you're welcome to come back. So you might take me up on that. Again, I talked about it at the July meeting. So Mr. Quinlan from the high school, he's going to be taking care of all of our video work. So you might have seen some of his work already. Very creative. The production work is incredible. He will also be doing all the social media postings, so you might have gotten a blast out this afternoon. Hey, there's a board meeting tonight, so we'll be on that more. you spoke, we heard you. We know we want to do better with public relations and we will, and I think we already are. Our new website is still underway. Again, once ready, we'll be transferring from our current website to a Parent Square website. Once it's over to Parent Square, Mr. Quinlan will be the one with the keys to the kingdom and he'll be the one posting everything. Right now, Cap Region BOCES is still running our website, and so anything we need to post will go to them. As far as the website, public relations, we kind of got to what we discussed this last year, but the school calendar. So I wanted to make a specific point. We talked about last year, you know what? There's only about there's less than half the districts that still print a school calendar. It is a fairly big expense, but it's also kind of moving forward, moving into 2026 and beyond. So this year, we're not going to be printing a calendar. It will be available on the website in printable version. We will put together kind of a one-sheeter and we'll print that out and make that available to anyone who needs it. It'll be at all the buildings. It will be here at central office. And if need be, if someone contacts us, hey, can you print something from the website for me? Absolutely, we'll take care of that. But it is an issue when the calendar gets printed and almost immediately, sometimes there's mistakes on it. Things change and it misleads people. So we'll also have kind of a quick reference one-sheeter for people. Each month, what are the days off? What are the half days? When are the vacations? So a lot of times that's what parents and guardians really need to see. So I think with Mr. Quinlan working on that along with us, it'll go along very well, and I'll keep you updated on that. My videos are out already, so you can see we started the traditional 7C challenge. So that's giving up one thing each week for 7 weeks. So the first week was chips, meaning all potato chips, anything. A chip is a chip. The second week was cookies. And the third week, it will be coming out in a day or two. So I can't give it away. It's going to be a tough one, week 3. Now, tonight on the agenda, under personnel, we also have to hire a photographer. So Mr. Quinlan is the video guy. He's not necessarily the photographer and the writing the story guy. So Elizabeth Xanthus, many of you know as Betsy Xanthus. So she has over 20 years experience as a public relations person at Orange Ulster BOCES. So we're hiring her for X amount of hours to cover the year. So she will have a shared calendar with all of the principals. So it'll be up to them to input the information. We have this going on this day at this time. She'll come, she'll take the picture, she'll write the story, and then she'll get that to Mr. Quinlan for posting on all of our platforms. We feel it'll be very effective, and we'll have more pictures and more stories out there than we have in the past. This Friday is the annual Mid-Hudson Study Council Law Conference. So a number of the administrators will be going to that. It's at Mount St. Mary's, right here in Newburgh. And it is a nice way to kind of get the most recent updates on some of the new legislation and rulings that have come out. I'll report back on that at the next meeting in August. So also, speaking of the next meeting, at the August 17th board meeting, we have a presentation tonight, which we'll be giving in a few moments, but Mr. St. Lawrence will be here at the August 17th board meeting. He'll give an update on all athletics, but also a presentation on the field and facilities usage so that the board and the public can see, kind of how often our fields get used, the facilities, because they're, we have beautiful facilities. We want to keep it that way. If you've been around the grounds a little bit, you can see the tennis courts are up. The surface is down. The fence is all up. We're just waiting for that. It needs to dry a little bit. You want it to get a little rain on it so that oil rises up. And as soon as that is ready to go, perhaps another week, they'll put the top coat on and then the lining, and it should be ready to go for opening day for tennis. So that's exciting. The high school fitness room is also being revamped. We received a grant from Senator Skoufis. So once that is ready, we will invite the senator back for a ribbon cutting ceremony and we'll have a nice PR campaign on that. So that's been long needed. Tonight, Ms. Put Lamerand and I are going to do a presentation on this building, our Main Street building. And I'll give the background now. So we've been working really most of the year with the facilities committee on a possible capital project district-wide. It's going to cover soup to nuts, just to upgrade all of our buildings from things you don't see, like boilers and roofs, to, air conditioning, kind of giving it a fresh look. Part of that discussion, though, is this building. So we need to decide what we want to do as far as, are we going to keep the Main Street building? Are we going to renovate it? We're going to, perhaps build new admin offices. That's all out there. But really the first step is for the public and the board to understand, what is this building? How big is it? Who's here? How much does it cost to maintain? What have we put into it? And then according to our building condition surveys that we have to do, what are going to be the future costs for this building? So that's going to be our presentation that I will go to the podium with Ms. Put Lamerand right now. All right. Good. A special thanks to Ms. Put Lamerand for putting this presentation together. Again, this is an overview of this building and where we are. So next slide. There we go. All right, so some of you might not realize, this building has been around a long time, almost as long as Mr. Reese. So this was constructed.
I watched the construction.
He watched the construction of this building. He supervised the construction. So 1912. So that's the same year that the Titanic sank. We got this beautiful building built. It is 29,144 total square feet. And it has been, as you can see, it's been in operation for 113 continuous years. It is a beloved building. It's an amazing building. I love it here, but we need to kind of share, hey, here's what it costs. And, some of these, this information will help us to guide what we're going to do in the future. Okay.
Let's go.
Okay. All right, so what you will see in just a moment is that, this is, I'm sure you're aware, this building is the hub of all operations. So the central administration is a very high traffic area. It houses myself, the superintendent, Dr. Carr, the assistant superintendent, Ms. Put Lamerand. You also have really all functions of the business office. So you have human resources, you have the registrar, food service, data coordination. So it is a busy building. On the second and third floors, which you'll see in just a moment, we rent those to Orange Ulster Bossies because we don't necessarily need the entire building. So we'll be covering that in just a moment. So as you can see, we occupy just the first floor. That's almost 11,000 square feet. Okay, next slide.
Yeah, let's see about that.
All right. So not only do we use this building, we have our school buildings come here for meetings. We also have Chamber of Commerce and other groups who do come in to use this building. As we said, it is a high traffic center. Right, next, please. All right, so Ms. Put Lamerand is gonna talk about some of the numbers here and what we generate from the building and so on.
You and good evening. So we do rent out the second and third floor of this building to Orange Ulster BOCES. And this generates revenue, and next year, these numbers are for 26-27 school year. We anticipate $186,150 in rent income from BOCES. The contract thereafter is a 2% increase each year for the next 5 years. We also share the utility costs with BOCES. Previously, in the prior lease, we shared about 33% of the utility costs. Moving forward, I mentioned to BOCES that they actually inhabit 63% of our space, and we have increased the share of utilities that they will be paying. And that averages about $55,000 per year. So the total annual offset between the revenue and the offset to the expenses comes to $241,150. And now we're on, I forgot what numbers. Okay, we're good. So in order to maintain the first floor of the building, we have our maintenance and supplies on the right-hand side of the chart, but the utilities cover the entire building, the first floor, second floor, and the third floor. And this is our total as of the beginning of June. We hadn't received our June bills yet because they're always a month behind when this was put together. So our electric up until the end of May was $39,813. Gas is which we used for heat was $25,195. And our water and sewer, $7,904. And that gives us a total of $72,913. Again, that's usually a larger number. It could go up to 88,000. I've seen in the past years. I looked at 5 years of data, but this is where we are to date. And we will get reimbursed for 33% of that because it's the month of June, but moving forward, 63%. And then in order to run the building, the first floor, to maintain it, we do have 2 cleaners that come down for a total of 2 hours. One comes down for a half hour, and then the other one follows and does a more rigid cleaning of an hour and a half, so to speak, every day of the year, more or less, unless we're closed. So I averaged out their expenses or their hourly rate, number of hours throughout the year, and that's 12 months. And added their benefits such as Social Security and Medicare, as well as the employees' retirement system. And that gave us a total of $10,783.44. And in addition to cleaning and maintaining inside, we have our ground staff, and they have to come down and mow starting in the spring through the fall, more or less. Not too late in the fall, depends on the year, if we have a lot of rain. And then they also come down and they'll plow, or they'll shovel the snow or salt, depending on the rain, freezing rain, or lots of snow. So that amounted to just under $6,600 for the ground staff. And again, that could be a light number because this year we didn't have as many snowstorms and we didn't have as much rain for the grass in the beginning of the season, but now we're seeing more. So this was based on a year's worth of data. And then we have our supplies. That's the mulch for the gardens in the front, the salt, and the cleaning supplies. And that totals about $18,015.43.
Okay, next slide.
So this was a unique year in the 25-26 school year for repairs in this building. Last summer, we had a project where we had to abate the asbestos in all 3 floors of the building. We had asbestos that was between the ceiling tiles and the rafters of the area above in each floor. So between that and also replacing the carpeting and abating the floor tiles underneath, that total came to $584,381.32. And it was deemed an emergency project. And it was also funded with our fund balance. So this was definitely an unplanned event that we had to come up with fund balance to fund. Also, because this is an administrative building, although we do have students from BOCES getting educated upstairs, they are not our students since we rented to them. We are not eligible for building aid. Typically, we would get 61% back in building aid on our other buildings because they are education buildings, but this building is not. Then we had our water main break. A part of it, a section of it broke right before spring break. And that is between this building and the one next door on the other side where Gerard Associates is located. And that led to a flood. It got turned off as soon as possible, but it meanwhile did flood the parking lot as well as spread into the building. And because the boardroom is below ground, of course, it ran down here and flooded quite a bit. The total costs for repairing that were $112,000, $416.73. The blessing in disguise, though, is that it was covered by NYSER. Our insurance company covered the cost except for $10,000, which was our deductible. So in essence, the costs for those two repairs and some other maintenance and repairs that we've done over the last few years comes to $715,068. Again, these are non-aidable expenses.
So again, looking to the future, just like in your homes, you look towards, okay, what's the 5-year projection like? So the future roadmap, this is all based on our building condition survey that we do. There is about $2.1 million in infrastructure and just in modernizing some of the systems here if we're going to hold on to the building. Just like in your homes, there's upgrades that have to be done. Look at that picture, that's great. So phase one, again, this is moving forward into the next 5 years. If we wanted to hold on to this building, some of the things that do need to be done. So the boilers are past due. They need replacement. They need to be upgraded. The water main, it's the same water main. It's the same pipe that goes from the building all the way to the street. It broke in one place. The building was built in 1912. That may possibly be the original water main. So it is very possible or probable that that's going to break again someday. So that might even be the first thing we should do is replace the water main right from the building to the street. And there is no generator at this site. So you might have noticed that when we do have the voting here, of course, we have generators, portable ones that we bring in because it would be an issue if we lost power during the election. So that is, as you can see, about $223,000 to get a generator in. So as you can see, about 1.5 million really just kind of for our core systems is what is needed. Then some functional updates. So the boardroom, the air conditioner is quite dated. It's a little warm in here now, actually. When it is on, it's very hard to run a meeting because it's so loud. So you really could use replacing the AC, the air handler, the flooring. We have a lot of tiles that are popping. Our James McGardle and his team have done a great job kind of replacing as needed. The boardroom, so the public bathrooms are here in the boardroom. If you've been in those bathrooms, it reminds me of kind of the rest stop on the thruway. That it's probably not the bathrooms that you'd want to present to the public for public use. People use those during the voting. They could use some upgrading. And not that we need to get into the specifics, but because we are below grade, even new bathrooms wouldn't prevent this. When we get an inordinate amount of rain, you can't use the bathrooms because they can't flush. And then the parking lot, it really could use, at minimum, resealing and striping, new striping. But really, once you take a look, if you're ever in the area, take a look at the parking lot. It might even be at its life end. So those are just some functional things that really should be done. Again, this is all based on the 5-year building condition survey, which is required by state ed. So again, just some of the pros and cons. I know we love the building, as you can see in big letters, and we did have it appraised. So we had an appraisal done a few years ago. We just had the new appraisal done. It was appraised at $3.3 million. So there is value to this building beyond the sentimental value. It's worth over $3 million. So the assets, of course, we generate income from BOCES by renting it, $241,000. It is a high traffic, highly used building. And of course, it is almost 30,000 square feet. It's an historic community infrastructure that's been here since 1912. And it could be here for another 100 years if we so choose. The reality that this year, unbeknownst to us, with the abatement, with the leak and this other repairs, we did put $715,000 into the building. We have an annual maintenance of a little under 20,000, 18,000. The utilities cost almost 73,000. That will continue to rise. So the total operational cost of around $90,000. So hopefully this gives the board and the public just a general idea of, hey, as I always say, how much does it cost to turn the key? So whether it's your car or your house, to open the door, how much does it cost? So we wanted to go over that. And again, we are one district, one mission. The mission is students. So we will continue to keep the board and the public apprised. Again, the new timeline for possible capital projects, because we have a decent sized window of opportunity. So right now we're shooting for December of 27. So the facilities committee will continue to meet. We'll continue to report to the board and to the public of where we are so that we can start those conversations of, when we do, we'll have some public forums to discuss kind of the pros and cons of this building. What would the public like to see? Because of course, if we had any inklings of selling the building, that all requires a public vote. Okay. So thank you very much for your attention, and we will keep you updated as we move forward. Okay, that's my report. Okay.
Yes, thank you very much. And it's a little out of order, but if you don't mind, I'd like to add something regarding the building condition survey.
Absolutely.
You mentioned it a few times, and I think it's important to note that that building condition survey is done by the architecture and engineering team. It's a full in-depth review of every building in and out from roof to basement. And this occurred 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we received the report. We started conversations then. How can we as a district put together a comprehensive plan when it just seems like there's so much work to do? And if you see that report at the bottom line, it's a wish list of everything that would make the place, perfect. $92 billion, you could do a lot. And we evaluated that in the buildings facility committee, the small committee that meets. So you've heard that mentioned quite a bit. And we've been meeting often over the past 2 years, addressing some of those initial needs. Water infiltration, roofs, things like that, asbestos, some of those kind of bigger ticket items under the guidance from the architecture and engineering teams. And so all of this is part of the data collection phase of let's find out all the information we can to help inform what that decision could be, what that roadmap might be to make it successful. And I'm glad you mentioned the fact that anything like that would require public forums, community engagement, community outreach, and really getting a vote to make sure we can move forward. So I just wanted to add a little bit more of that past context to that.
Great.
We mentioned a lot of things, so I thought that was important to mention. But thank you very much for bringing that presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Loftus.
All right, and On to our next item, we have our Assistant Superintendent for Business Report, Ms. Lorraine Van Put Lamerand.
Thank you. So Jennifer Capacchione from Nugent and Hausler is here with her team to complete their fieldwork of the external audit for 25-26. We also received an update from State Aid Planning, who is doing our Medicaid billing for us. And actually, I have an update today that updates the update. So instead of billing for $30,000, as I reported in the board packet, it's up to $48,000 as of today. Now, additional billing will be done in the next several months, so I will keep you apprised as that comes about. And I just wanted to say that the district typically doesn't receive the full amount of what is billed, because sometimes corrections are sent back, or we just don't qualify for whatever we're putting in for. But after we get everything in for the 25-26 school year, I'll give you the grand total, and hopefully we'll find out soon what we are entitled to. For the month of June, we closed out the books for Nugent and Hausler to come and audit them, and the expenditures in the month of June were $14.8 million. When I report the expenditures each month, they typically come to $7.9 million, but they are much higher in June because our 10-month staff has the option of getting paid 20 or 24 pays per year. So when June comes along, we have to pay out the teachers for the end of the school year, and that can rise up our expenditures, as well as trying to fit in all our expenses and get as much in as we can for the end of the year. So those totals are higher in June. Our revenues, we also receive a number of state aid payments in June. We received general aid of $604,000, excess cost aid $615,000, BOCES aid $695,000. And then we also received health and welfare payments for the, we service the students in Burke and St. John's schools. And we receive payments from districts that have their students attending that school because we give services to those students. And that amount was $124,000. And our interest this month was down. We've been getting over $100,000 in interest each month, but we are down to $92.2 thousand in interest for the month of June. And then as of the end of the school year, unaudited, of course, until Nugent and Hausler is complete, we have expenditures for now totaling $96.7 million. Now that represents 99% of the budget, and that is higher than typically. And the reason for that is because we had a number of budget adjustments through the year. We had tax certiorari's that had to be paid out for $3.3 million. We also had the emergency project that we just spoke about for Main Street, $585,000. And then the high school PA and the tennis courts, and CJ Hooker controls, we actually spent, the numbers came in higher than we anticipated and budgeted for a total of $363,000. So if I were to pull those anomalies out of the figures, it would bring us to 95.5% of our budget spent, which is in line with where we would normally be. But I just wanted to explain that to you because it does look odd when you see 99% of the budget. We usually do spend from 97% and down. That's our typical number in Goshen. And then for revenue, we actually received 103% of our budgeted revenue, which is a great place to be in. So that means we underestimated our revenues and received more than anticipated. And that was due to a few things. The BOCES refund was higher this year for $309,000. Our pilots, we had a pilot come on the books that we were unaware of until I found out through the Orange County IDA. So we actually had 2 years of billing to do for that. And that brought in $456,000 more than we anticipated because it was for 2 years ago. Then we have health and welfare, which I mentioned we just received money for as well. We came in at $218,000 over budget. Interest was up by $832,000. We also had some foster students that we don't typically have, and they came in at $150,000. And then we also had state aid of $663,000. The bulk of that was from homeless students. So when they are placed in our district or they move into our district and doubled up, we can claim them And for instance, say if they were from Middletown, we would stack these students and get reimbursed for 100% of their tuition through the state. And that's actually a reduction of their state aid, so to speak, but that's not what they're paid. And that is it for me. That's a lot, I know, sorry.
All right, thank you very much. Great. Moving on to our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum, Instruction, Personnel, and Technology report, Dr. Jason Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Loftus. Good evening, everyone. We'll start off this evening with a brief UPK update, just so we all know where we're at with enrollment. Not much has changed since our last meeting. We still have our 54 students placed at Scotchtown Avenue School and the additional 12 students placed at the On My Way Early Learning Center in Middletown. What we did discuss today was the kindergarten projections that we have currently in the system for 27-28 school year. So currently we are aware of the potential for 12 kindergarten students entering next school year. And so I plan to have a conversation with Ms. Fuentes, understanding that our deadline did pass. However, the application period did not expire yet. So I'm hopeful that we may be able to reach out to these 12 families and at least offer the opportunity to enroll in our UPK program. These individuals did not actually apply prior to the initial deadline or the second deadline, but I don't believe that it hurts to just reach out and try to get some more of our potential students involved in the UPK program. So we'll continue to work on that. I do have a literacy update for you. So we're always pleased to be able to bring in new material, anything that may be our core content, and of course, anything that adds to our supplemental services, namely MTSS and our tiered intervention services. And so in preparation for next year, we've secured materials for Scotchtown and GIS. So we are going to expand the use of the Foundations program, which is an intervention program specifically for literacy. And so these updates are in line with everything that we talked about in the past by way of science and reading and structured literacy, especially providing explicit instruction in those foundational literacy skills, awareness, segmentation, fluency, and so on. So we're excited about that. Again, from a tiered intervention perspective, we feel like this really rounds us out, moving to the third edition in Scotchtown. So Foundations second edition has been in place, now moving to the updated third edition. And with the third edition, we feel like everything by way of scope and sequence will remain the same, but it should increase our consistency in implementation across the buildings because there's more options for differentiation. There's more teacher support. There's more visual learning available. And with those resources comes Fun Hub. And so you're all aware that in our buildings, in every single classroom, we have our multimedia boards available to us. And so Fun Hub now provides those visual lessons, visual activities that go along with Foundations for our students to take part in. There's a lot of assessment reporting. There's instructional videos that we can tap into. So many more tools go into the toolbox by bringing in this program. In addition to those tier 1 interventions that we will offer our students, Scotchtown's also going to tap into Fun and Focus, which then shifts to a primary focus in tier 2 interventions. Again, foundational literacy skills, however, focusing now more on small group explicit instruction in those foundational skills. So Fun and Focus will be brought in. Again, more guided practice, more repetition with those skills, and hopefully that'll move our students exactly where we need them to be in closing those gaps. When it comes to GIS, if you recall, we've had Foundations in GIS, especially level 3, right, for third grade students. And then for our upper grades, we brought in Just Words, which is another program that provides the same foundational pieces for our 4th and 5th grade students. But we just signed on with BOCES to bring in level 4 and level 5 directly from Foundations. So all materials, everything by way of Foundations 4-5 coming to us directly from Wilson Reading. And then with this, it's much the same, right? It's just a different level where we're focusing on those explicit instruction and foundational skills. However, it's really important to realize as we move into grade 4 and especially grade 5, we get into that more advanced word analysis, because at this point now we're moving into informational literacy, and we're really starting to, take the information and then put it into writing. And so we're starting to polish this up now with better programs. And again, this would be considered a tier 1 service. And then with that, it's important to also realize that we've invested in the proper professional development for our teachers. So we'll have some webinars available to us. We'll have some 9-hour courses by way of Wilson that will allow us to secure some science of reading credentials, of course, to the tune of micro credentialing. But then also in working with BOCES, we're able to bring in providers to really get into the meat and potatoes, especially with level 4 and level 5. So our elementary team of administrators and even our grade chairs have worked very hard to help us to expand these programs, bring them in, and help us to set up everything necessary for professional development. And again, we're very excited about that. So expansion in program is happening. We're staying in tune with science of reading and every initiative that's coming our way. And I do think that this is very beneficial, of course, but it will help us to learn and grow and move our students in the proper direction for the future. And then finally, new teacher orientation is set on the calendar for August 25th and 26th. So we're going to get out the notifications to everyone, including our school board. And so hopefully you can join us. We're still working out the details because, as Mr. Bon Jovi likes to say, we want to take what we did last year and we want to make it better. So we're looking at ways to fine tune. We may not be able to change every single thing that we've done, but we can certainly try to make it better. And so that's the plan. We'll get that information out to you, but this is our new crop of teachers joining Goshen. We're always excited about that. We have a few with us this evening. So we'll have a nice luncheon on the 25th and get into all of the work and prepare our new teachers for the work to come. So we'd love to see you there on the 25th and 26th. And that rounds out my report for this evening. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And before we move on, we do have some new hires here tonight, so I'm just going to turn it back over to Mr. Bon Jovi for a minute before we approve the consent agenda officially.
Thank you, Mr. Loftus. So if we have 4 of our new appointees here, if you could join me at the podium. I did tell them they'd make a speech. I hope you're all prepared. So we have our appointees here. They'll tell you their name, their assignment, and what building they're in.
Hi, I'm Jordan Mariah, and I'm the new 5th grade teacher at Goshen Intermediate School.
Welcome. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Erin Lynch. I am the AAS math teacher at CJ Hooker.
Jacqueline.
Hi, I'm Jackie Campbell. I'm the special education teacher at CJ Hooker.
Great. And we'll officially welcome you just a moment after the vote. Okay, thank you.
We need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Shannon and Scott. Be it resolved, the Board of Education approves the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, officially welcome to the team. Good luck. Okay, all right, there's no old business. We need a motion to approve the new business. Okay, Shannon and Scott. Be it resolved upon the recommendations of the interim superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the new business items as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Any other board member comments, questions? Anything? Okay, very good, moving on. We need a motion for executive session. Shannon and Roy. Be resolved, the Board of Education will enter into executive session with the intent not to reconvene the business portion of the meeting for discussions related to the search for a superintendent of schools and for discussions related to the employment history of a particular person or persons, the employment history of a particular corporation, and potential litigation. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you and have a great night.
Have a great night, everyone. Congratulations.